In Groundhog Day, Bill Murray plays a man who is trapped, living the same day over and over again. Whatever his actions or plans, at the end of each day, all of his progress is reset, and he must start anew. This is both a blessing and a curse, as his actions are utterly without consequence, and each day presents a myriad of opportunities. This premise is well explored in a film that is equal parts comedy and philosophical drama, and has come to be regarded as a resounding achievement in cinema. At certain times, Groundhog Day takes on a much more somber tone. It's easy to look at a film like this for wish fulfillment. We can think to ourselves, wouldn't it be amazing to experience this? We can only imagine how this power would interact with our own lives. It's sort of a bastardized version of omnipotence, or maybe it's a more genuine representation of omnipotence than we usually see in film. The more nefarious implications of the power are hinted at, but they aren't completely probed as they're outside the film's scope. You can only imagine so much at one time and it still be cogent. Look at Her and Ex Machina. Two amazing films about artificial intelligence that explore completely different possibilities. Both have strong and organic narratives that are free from contrivance. In Groundhog Day, Bill Murray manipulates women to have sex with them. He attacks strangers and kills himself several times. All his actions are free from repercussions, and he has little to no impact on the world around him. His only potential growth, therefore, is internal. He can choose to stay doing the same thing indefinitely and accept the monotony of his endlessly repetitive life, or he can work to better himself, immerse himself in the people around him, in culture, artistic expression and history. He could learn a new craft or a talent and explore the human condition to its boundaries. You could extrapolate this to the potentially harrowing conclusion that there is only so much opportunity for numinous in humanity, and even the most innovative thought process or beautiful expression could eventually yield the same mundanity as brushing your teeth or going for a shit. This, again, is a little outside the bounds of what the film sets out to do. But if we strip away the immortality and immunity to incarceration from Bill Murray's character, we may end up with something uncomfortably similar to our own lives. His character develops an awareness for his condition, tests the boundaries and rules of his universe, and then he uses that understanding to attain growth and fulfillment. What's stopping us from doing the same? How much time do we actually need? How long does it take to learn a language? Or learn to paint? To expand our horizons and make a difference? Is it a year? Is it 10 years? Most of us have 10 years. So what stops us? It's pretty deep for a comedy. In the film, Bill Murray quickly identifies love as the goal most worthy of his efforts. Or at least he thinks he does. He has one genuine moment in the snow with Andie MacDowell that proves to be totally unique. Normally he can grind his way to any outcome he wishes, but his efforts to repeat the connection he has with her are fruitless and awkward at best, and completely hilarious. It's like in Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. He doesn't succeed with the power of love. He succeeds with the power of self-respect. Bill Murray doesn't learn to ice sculpt with a chainsaw, or start being amicable with his co-workers, or learn the Heimlich manoeuvre or piano to impress Andie MacDowell. He does this all for himself. The piano example is a little tainted, because she does say she's attracted to people who play instruments, but I think the greater point still stands. He makes a point to save a kid falling out of a tree each day, and he starts respecting his cameraman, where before he was an egotistical jerk. He takes the homeless man to hospital, and he stays with him the next day as he dies, trying to resuscitate him. Why would he do any of this if his actions all had no consequence? Why would he bother? The kid will still be alive the next day to fall out of the tree again. The cameraman will forget his kindness, and the homeless man will die again, cold and alone. Bill Murray consistently does these things to achieve growth. If you've got your cynic hat on, you could say he's merely serving his own interests. That any perceived altruism is just him indulging in that warm fuzzy feeling you get when you do something nice. But then what is altruism? Is it worth anything? Can you ever do a good thing for good reasons? And what is good? But this is far too scary a line of reasoning for my brain this morning. I am still half asleep, and this is supposed to be a comedy. Bill Murray should be making me laugh. That's much better. The point I'm trying to make is that Bill Murray eventually progresses and escapes his proverbial dream or nightmare. when he realises he cannot change the world around him and instead changes what's inside him. I think film is the perfect medium for Groundhog Day. Certain things are achieved here that would not sit nearly as well as in a book or a play. First and foremost is the emphasis on repetition. The film wisely omits showing us the maddening ritual of completing each day as Bill Murray attempts to achieve a goal, and instead efficiently presents his trials for success. We can directly see his thought process through each slight alteration as he works incrementally towards his objective. We are used to just seeing the final product of a film, but it may take many takes to achieve that final cut. There's a shot in A Clockwork Orange that took Stanley Kubrick nearly 100 attempts to get right. Given that filmmaking relies so heavily on this trial and error process, it is only too natural to tweak certain details about a scene and have it play out nearly the same, but very slightly different. I feel this is achieved especially well when Bill Murray's character tries to recreate the romantic spark outside in the snow and it doesn't work for him. Everything's just a bit off and the execution is phenomenal. More recently we had another film with a fairly similar premise, this time starring Tom Cruise and Emily Blunt. Originally using the working title All You Need Is Kill, one shared with the manga that partly inspired it, it was released theatrically as Edge of Tomorrow, and then after a disappointing box office, it was again retitled as Live, Die, Repeat. I think all the names suck, but the film is very cool. In that film, there is a much stronger emphasis on action and achieving a military objective. The growth in Edge of Tomorrow more closely resembles the incremental progress of a game. This is understandably not true for Groundhog Day. Tom Cruise must beat the aliens. Tom Cruise tries something and is killed. Tom Cruise resets, comes back to life and tries something else. Tom Cruise succeeds. As I said, this film is much more action driven and doesn't have nearly the emotional or philosophical range of Groundhog Day. There is a great disparity in intent and quality of execution between the two films. One major difference is that Groundhog Day never attempts to explain the weird powers exhibited. Edge of Tomorrow does, and as a result is riddled with inconsistencies and plot holes. These were covered pretty well in the YMS review, so if you haven't seen that, you should check it out. Groundhog Day takes a more spiritual approach, and thus we don't need to lock down a reason for the day resetting and then not. Bill Murray's character arc is organic and develops smoothly through the entire film. By contrast, Cruise's and Blunt's arcs are not nearly so well crafted, and the film flat out breaks its own rules to give us an ending we expect. If there was any room for improvement in Groundhog Day, they could perhaps develop Andy McDowell more, or find a way to make the love arc seem a little less obligatory, but I can't say myself how any of this could be achieved, only that it's potentially noteworthy. Overall, I think Groundhog Day does exceedingly well as both a comedy and a commentary on the human condition. You have just the right amount of Bill Murray humour and time for reflection that you come away satisfied but also challenged. Groundhog Day is a great film, and if you haven't seen it already, you definitely should.